Appreciate you tuning in. Okay, so folks, today's topic, right? Again, for those of you just tuned in, I'm talking about, hey, how important is it? How important is it as a job seeker for you to customize your resume for each and every position, each and every role that you're applying for? And let me know in the comments, folks, actually, for those of you tuning in, I want to know, are all of you customizing your resume for the positions that you're applying for? Are you actually customizing it for each and every position? And how long is it taking for you? And do you find that it's a source of frustration? So I'm going to be talking about whether it makes sense for anyone to be customizing their resume for every position they're applying for. So couple of tips, a couple of areas I wanted to cover, and feel free to put your share your thoughts and your questions in the comments as well. Now, number one is, folks, and this is based on my experience being an IT recruiter who has worked in recruitment for 8+ years. Now, this is the part that a lot of you are not going to like hearing this, right? But it's the reality of the situation, and I want to, and I'm always educating all of you on the realities of recruitment, on the job search process and the job search cycle, right? Now, number one, in regards to job descriptions, right, folks? Job descriptions rarely, if ever, tell the full story, and they're not always an accurate reflection of what the key aspects of the position and of the role are, right? Now, I know a lot of you listening to this might feel very discouraged by that and maybe upset, but stay with me, right? I'm going to show you how to navigate this, and I just wanted to give you a peek from the other side of the table. Job descriptions, for the most part, folks, do not tell the full story and are not always an accurate reflection of what the key aspects of the position and what the key requirements of the role are. Because a job description usually have 20, 30 bullet points, and I find that a lot of people obviously are stressed out about the fact that Dean, how do I seriously have to customize my resume for these positions that I'm applying for? So the first part, and this is the reality of the situation, folks, is you gotta understand is the job descriptions, not all 20, 30 of those bullet points are an absolute requirement for the position, right? That's the reality of the situation, which is point number one, right? So first of all, job descriptions do not always reflect the entire scope of the position, or even accurately reflect what the key components of the role are, or what's most important to the organization, right? So what I'm basically saying here is, do not be intimidated by the 20 to 30 bullet points on the job description. A lot of you are going over job descriptions, right? And you're saying you're thinking, hey, I don't match like 70% of these or 80% of these, so I'm not going to apply at all. Sorry, I'm not matching like 10% or 20% or 30% of what's required, what's listed on this job description, so I'm not going to apply at all. Don't dismiss the job description just based on that, folks. And this is why I'm trying to make this point. Not all 20, 30 bullet points on that job description are absolute requirements for the position. So a lot of you might be dismissing these positions that you're interested in applying for simply because you don't match maybe 10% or 20% of the bullet points. And the fact is, not all of those requirements listed in the job description are absolute non-negotiables for the hiring team, right? And what it comes down to, and this is based on, again, my experience working in recruitment, in a job description of maybe 20 to 30 requirements, probably only 3 or 4 of those requirements are absolute non-negotiables for the position, right? If you're taking notes, you want to write that down, right? In a job description, of those 20 to 30 bullet points, maybe 3 or 4 of those bullet points are actual keys to the position and absolutely required and extremely important for the position. That's the reality of it, folks. So this is why a lot of you should not be dismissing positions just based on the fact that you might be missing maybe 10 to 20% of what's listed in the requirements. Because, again, it only comes down to maybe 3 or 4 bullet points that are extremely important to the organization, right? Now, this brings me to tip number 2 in regards to customizing your resume. Now, of those 20 to 30 bullet points, like I said, maybe 3 or 4 might be important. You're not going to know at the application stage which of those 20 to 30 bullet points are those key aspects for the role. You're not going to be able to figure out, hey, okay, what are those 3 to 4 bullet points that are absolutely important for the position? You're not going to be able to know that, right? You're not going to be able to determine that and figure that out at the application stage, right? So this is extremely important for all of you to understand and be aware of, right? And this is actually and I'm going to get into further into what this means for you when you're customizing your resume. Now, in regards to point number 2, right, that you won't know which of those 20 to 30 bullet points are the key 3 to 4 points you need to be highlighting on your resume. Now, the exception to this is if you're being represented by an agency. Now, if you're being represented by a staffing agency and they have a great relationship with their client, they will be able to let you know, hey, these are the 20 to 30 bullet points, but of these 20 to 30 bullet points, X, Y, and Z are the key components of the role that you need to highlight on the resume. Right. So this is one of the benefits. If you're working with this, if you're being represented by a great staffing agency, and that staffing agency has access to the direct hiring manager, and and usually staffing agencies, they meet with the hiring team before they even start recruiting on the position. They have a discussion with the hiring team, and the typical discussion, pretty much, most staffing agencies, what they do is they highlight, hey, look, you folks have 20 to 30 bullet points listed on this job description. Tell us what are the three or four most important things you need for this position. And whereas, what would be the remainder that would not be as important. Most staffing agencies, folks, 90 to 95% of the time, always have this discussion with their clients, and they clarify this. And the agency is going to focus on those 3-4 bullet points when they're conducting their search, right? So this is why sometimes a lot of you might not get found by recruiters, is because maybe you're not mentioning those key aspects they're looking for. Which I'm going to get to in point number 4 shortly, right? In how to make sure you increase your chances of getting found by recruiters. But the point is, staffing agencies usually already have an idea of what those key 4 aspects are on the job description. And if you're being represented by an agency, you need to have that discussion with them and find out, hey, so what are those 3 or 4 most important things your client is looking for, so I can make sure I highlight those on my resume before you go ahead and present my resume to your client. So this is one of the advantages. If you're being represented by an agency, you're working through an agency, they'll be able to let you know of those 20 to 30 bullet points or whatever it is listed on the job description. They will be or should be able to let you know in most cases, in majority of cases, what the 3 to 4 most important points are, so you can highlight those on your resume. Right now, for those of you who are applying directly, you might not have access to that information. You would not be able to know of those 20 to 30 bullet points, what are those key 3 or 4 points that you actually need to be focusing your attention on your resume. Now, because of that brings me to point number 3. If you're applying directly, right, unfortunately, you will have to customize your resume to the entire job description. Right now, that does not mean you have to mention each and everything that's mentioned on the job description. What I'm saying is, any relevant experience you do have, right? If you have experience with XYZ, and XYZ is mentioned on the resume, on the job description, you want to make sure you highlight that on your resume, right? You don't want to be omitting that. So folks, at your end, and I know this is tedious, I know this is like time consuming, but this is the reality of the situation. If you don't have a direct contact, or you're not able to find out what are those key 3 or 4 things you're looking for out of those 20 things in the job description, then you do have to customize your resume for the position that you're applying for. Right. So this is where you have to review the job description in detail, right? Bullet point by bullet point. And you want to make sure you highlight those things mentioned on the job description, which you do have experience with, on your resume. You want to highlight it. You want to mention those keywords. You want to mention those skill sets. Why? Because you never know which of those, bullet points are going to be those key important 3 or 4 aspects that they're looking for in a candidate. So hopefully all of you are with me so far, right? So my point is, if you're applying directly to a position, and you don't have a way to figure out what are the key 3 or 4 skills they're looking for this position, then you do have to review the job description in detail, as much detail as possible, and make sure you're highlighting and listing those skill sets and all of those skill sets that you do have experience with on your resume. So that way, when the recruiter is conducting their keyword search, because again, remember, the staffing agency, they're going to know what those key 3 or 4 skill sets are. And they're only going to be conducting their search based on those 3 or 4 skill sets. So if you're not listing all those relevant aspects on the job description, which you have experience with, it's possible your resume might not come up when they're doing their search. So to reduce the chances of that happening, this is why you do have to customize your resume for the positions you're applying for. Again, I know it's frustrating. I know it's time consuming. But this is exactly why, folks, you need to be doing this when you're conducting when you're customizing your resume, right? So you do have to do that. Now, now another thing I wanted to warn all of you of, and this is something I've heard going around. Some people are suggesting, hey, just copy and paste the job description, right? Minimize it into the smallest font possible, and make it white, right? Because the Word document's background is white, and then minimize it and just put it on your resume, so that way whatever keyword they enter, your resume is going to show up. Folks, this is stupid advice. All right. Now, if any of you are recommending this advice to anyone out there, it's harmful, it's foolish, and it's not a good practice. And I'll tell you why. Because when recruiters are reviewing resumes in detail, right? So let's say a recruiter has shortlisted like 10 or 15 resumes that they want to review in detail. When they open up your resume, first thing they're going to do is they're going to hit Control F, right? If it's a Windows machine they're using. If it's Apple, they're going to do Command F, and they're going to do a keyword search on your resume. While your resume is open, they're going to conduct a keyword search. They're going to enter some keyword, and they're going to hit next to see all those places where you listed that keyword. And they're going to read those sections in especially more detail. And guess what's going to happen if you do this foolish thing that people are suggesting in copying and pasting the job description, minimizing it into a small font, making it white so it can be seen, and inputting it on your resume? What's going to happen, folks? They're going to hit Control F. Eventually, they're going to come across the fact that you have done this on your resume. And guess what that's going to do? That's going to now discredit your entire it's simply going to you're going to discredit yourself, right? Because now what's the recruiter thinking? The recruiter's thinking, hey, this person just wanted to come up in the search results, or this person just wanted to get found, and now your entire resume is in question, right? Not just that part where you minimize the job description and put it on your resume, but now your entire resume has come into question, because now it's like, yeah, this person just wanted to get found. So you entirely discredited yourself. So this practice, those of you watching this who are telling people to do this, stop it. It's harmful. You're making people discredit themselves, and you're affecting how people are conducting their job search. It's dumb advice. It's stupid advice. Stop doing this. Stop promoting that. It's a terrible piece of advice, right? And everyone needs to quit doing that. I had someone actually reach out to me recently and telling me, hey, Dean, someone advised me to do this. Should I do this? And I told them, no, absolutely not. Do not do that. You will discredit yourself. Because, folks, this advice you're getting is from people who have never worked in recruitment or not worked in recruitment. Anyone who has worked in recruitment will tell you not to do this. It's not a good practice. You will end up discrediting yourself, because eventually the recruiter will find out that you have done this on your resume. Again, because they're going to hit Control F. They're going to do a keyword search when they have your resume open, right? The Word document. And they're going to eventually find out you copied and pasted the job description into your resume, and now your entire professional representation on your resume has come into question, and you've discredited yourself and pretty much knocked yourself out of the process. So don't do that, right? If you've done that, it's not your fault. Whoever gave you that advice is the person at fault, and should be ashamed of themselves for promoting that advice. It's bad advice. So don't do that. All right. Now, which brings me to tip number 4. All right. So obviously you have to customize your resume. I know it's time consuming. You got to customize your resume for the job descriptions for the jobs that you're applying for. You have to cater your resume for the job description. Now, how can you make this more simpler and more easier, right? So my suggestion, folks, is for everyone to have what's called a master version of your resume. Now, the master version of your resume is basically a version of your resume that you will never actually present or submit for any position, because it's an extremely detailed version of your resume, right? And this is why we're calling it a master version of your resume. So this is what's going to help you customize your resume much more easier, right? So bear with me and make sure you're taking notes as well. Now, the master version of your resume, as I mentioned, it should be an extremely, extremely detailed version of your resume. This version of your resume could potentially be, 8, 10, maybe 15, even 20 pages, right? And the whole point of the master version is to have as much detail as possible regarding each position, every skill set you have, every tool you work with, every software you work with, every technical methodology you work with, every kind of process you work with, whatever it is, as much detail as possible. And again, this is going to be an extremely long version of your resume, which is as detailed as possible. And this is your master version. And again, this is the version you will never submit to any position. This is simply to make your life more easier, right? When you're customizing your resume. Now, the purpose of your master resume is now when you're applying for jobs, you have certain job descriptions, and then obviously most of you are going to be applying for similar type of positions. You're going to be noticing that certain jobs will require you to remove certain things from your master resume and not include, and then highlight other aspects. So when you have a master version of your resume, it's much easier to do this, right? Because it's extremely detailed. You'll know exactly which parts you want to take out, which parts you want to remove from the master version, and which parts you want to maybe highlight and enhance or further elaborate on if needed. based on what the requirements are for the position, right? So having a master version, that's what's going to help you do that, folks. It's going to help you, use that time and utilize that time more effectively, where you already have a very detailed version of your resume and you're simply removing things. You're moving things out, removing things, and if needed, based on the job description, you're going to be, maybe adding things that might have not been mentioned and stuff like that. So this is going to help you, again, do this more effectively and more efficiently, right? So that's my tip number 4, is have a master version of your resume so you're able to more effectively and maybe spend a little less time having to customize and make a new resume or at least completely redo your resume for each and every position you're applying for. So have a master version prepared and ready. So invest a couple of hours if needed, folks. Create a master version that's extremely detailed, each and every single detail about each and every single project, every role, and all that stuff, so that when you're customizing your resume, you just take out your master resume, figure out which parts you don't need to include. You can remove those parts, and that way it's much easier for you to customize it, right? Now, another thing I wanted to mention, when you're customizing your resume for these job descriptions, you only want to highlight and mention those things that you do have experience with. Do not, folks, do not misrepresent yourself, okay? Do not, like I said before, this is kind of connected to what I mentioned before. Do not mention things on your resume simply because they're mentioned on the job description and you don't even have experience with that. That will again affect your credibility and you will discredit yourself. I have, as a recruiter, unfortunately, plenty of times had this happen to candidates that I have represented, right? Now, obviously, as a recruiter, I can't clarify each and every skill set that someone has listed on their resume. And I have had candidates go in for interviews and the hiring manager, the hiring team has asked them about some specific skill set listed on the resume. And the candidate has said, you know what, I actually don't have experience with that. And guess what happens, folks? The entire conversation gets thrown into the dust, right? Because now the hiring manager is also wondering, hey, I mean, what else listed on this person's resume have they misrepresented themselves on? Now your entire resume, your entire professional experience is coming into question. And guess what? The hiring manager does not have time to go over each and every part of your resume to clarify which parts are true and which parts are not true. So don't do this, folks. I know there's a temptation to make sure that you increase your chances of getting found, but I don't want you to discredit yourself. A lot of you are amazing, fantastic, highly talented, highly educated people. And I don't want you to put stains on your reputation, right? Even if that means that you might not be able to apply for certain roles or you might not get selected for certain roles, your resume might not get shortlisted for certain roles. I'd rather that happens, folks, than you put a stain on your reputation, especially if you're being represented by an agency. I don't want the agency to end up blacklisting you and putting on their system, hey, don't work with this candidate because they lied on their resume. I don't want that to happen to any of you, right? So do not do that. And I know the temptation, again, is for you to get found. You want to make sure your resume gets found. But folks, when you're going over the job description, only highlight those things you do have experience with, the relevant experience you do have listed on the job description, right? So you're reviewing the job description, you see XYZ listed on the resume, and you have not highlighted that on your resume, but you do have experience with that. Guess what? You want to then highlight that. Let's say you're reviewing the job description, it lists XYZ, you do not have experience with XYZ. Do not mention XYZ on your resume if you do not have experience with that. Right now, if you have academic experience, if you have professional experience, yeah, definitely you want to mention that on your resume. You want to highlight that. You want to mention that because, again, you want to make your resume keyword rich. You want to increase the chances of yourself getting found because, again, we don't know what are those 3-4 key skill sets at the application stage that the recruiter is going to be looking for and searching for, right? So, look, I hope this information was helpful. So I'm going to quickly review what I spoke about, right? Number 1, the reality, folks, is job descriptions, those 20 to 30 bullet points do not always reflect the actual key aspects and the real nature of what's required for the position. By the way, I just wanted to add, this is also based on my conversations as a recruiter with hiring teams over the years. I have literally met with many hiring teams who say, hey, Dean, well, what we're looking, this job description is just like, it's just for the public, but the key aspects are just, bullet point 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Like, that's it. That's what we're looking for. So that's the reality of the situation, folks. So unfortunately, to accommodate that, you do have to customize so that you're making sure that you're increasing your chances of mentioning those keywords you do have experience with. So you do have to cater your resume for the position, right? So that was number 1. And number 2 is because you're not aware of what those key bullet points are, and I kind of already spoke about this, that's why you need to make sure you're customizing your resume for each of those positions, right? Which brings me to tip number 3. At the application stage, you do have to customize your resume for the positions you're applying for. Definitely required, folks. So make sure you set aside the time to customize your resume. Tip number 4 was, in order to make your customization process more easy, take the time to create a master resume, right? A master version of your resume. This is an extremely detailed version of your resume. This version of your resume might be, if you're a junior entry level person, maybe it's like a 3-4 pages. If you're intermediate to senior, maybe it's like 8, 10, 15, maybe even 20, 30 pages. And this is, again, a version of your resume you will never submit anywhere. This is simply to make your customization process more easy. You have a master version, which is extremely detailed. So when you're customizing your resume, you simply have to take out stuff, right? It makes things much easier. You can take out certain projects, take out certain skill sets, take out certain experience. And if needed, you might want to add in and maybe enhance or highlight certain things and things like that. But it makes the customization process much easier, right? So those are my tips today, folks, in regards to job descriptions, whether or not you need to customize your resume for the job description. So I hope this information was helpful. If you did find this session helpful, make sure you like, share, and comment, folks, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this topic. So I'm going to get to the questions shortly. So let me know any job search questions you folks have. Put it in the comments, and I'm going to respond to your questions right now. Whether it's related to the job descriptions or any job search questions you have, folks, I'm here to help you out. I'm here to respond to your questions. If there are no questions, I'm going to end the session. So let me know and type in any questions you have. All right, so let's see here. So let's see what questions we have. Actually, let me just quickly, where are the questions? Let me see here. Okay, so we got a lot of introductions here. So Anjali says, it depends on the role, 15 to 30 minutes. I have a master resume and 3 to 4 generic resumes for the roles I target for. Excellent, Anjali. Hey, that's fantastic, right? So Anjali's already using this advice I've given, right, about having a master version of the resume and 3 or 4 generic resumes for the roles she targets. So yeah, that's another great point, Anjali, right? Like, you have to know what you're targeting, folks. So Anjali knows, okay, I'm going to be targeting, these 3 or 4 types of positions. So she already has a generic resume prepared, and she also has a master resume. So now the application process becomes much more easier and efficient for Anjali, because she knows it's good, because the core nuts and bolts of the resume is all done. It's all prepared. It's all ready. She just has to maybe take out some stuff or maybe add in some stuff based on the job description. So great job there, Anjali. And that's why she's only spending maybe 15, 30 minutes on customizing her resume for each position, right? So great job, Anjali, and keep doing that, right? You gotta figure out the process, folks, and figure out how you can do it more effectively and more efficiently, right? So great stuff there, Anjali. Thanks for sharing that. Anjali says, totally agree with your point number 1. Yeah, absolutely, Anjali. We got Ravleen says, hi. Hey, Ravleen. Ravleen says, I have a question. Great. I don't see your question, Ravleen, so ask me your question in the comments. We got Sundaravel. Sundaravel says, hi, I'm Sundar from New Brunswick, looking for network jobs. Awesome. Yeah. So anyone looking looking to connect with Sundaravel, feel free to do that, right? So I don't see any questions, folks. So it looks like I'm going to assume that no one has any questions. I guess I did a fantastic job presenting on this topic, or it's a topic that a lot of you are not really interested in. So either way, I hope this session was helpful. If there are no questions, I am going to wrap it up. But I will give a couple of more seconds in case, because I know there's a lag here. So in case anyone has any questions, feel free to put it in the comments, all right? But if not, I'll wrap this up in a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, again, just a reminder, again, folks, for those of you with an interest in cybersecurity, I'm gonna have a fantastic guest in tomorrow. His name is Danny Pehar. So Danny's going to be coming in tomorrow, same time, Thursday, November 19th, 11 a.m. He's going to be telling us how we can be more cyber smart, cyber aware, and how we can protect ourselves from cyber criminals, right? Because you and I, all of us, we're spending a lot of time online. So make sure you tune in, folks. Mark your calendars. That's going to be tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, all right? So I hope to see all of you tomorrow. I think I have some questions here. Mustafa said, you did, sir. I appreciate that, Mustafa. Thanks. I really appreciate that. So we got Michael here. Michael says, hi, relocated to UK last year. I'm experienced in supply chain management, but getting a job here in the UK has been difficult. Please advise me how I can go about it to upskill my skill to the UK market. All right. So Michael, I appreciate you tuning in, my friend. But unfortunately, so my market focus has been here in North America, right? So Canada and the US. I can say, Michael, I'm very much informed about the market in the UK. But what I would suggest is, I'm assuming, Michael, you're primarily applying for jobs online. So make sure you are, again, based on today's session, make sure you're customizing your resume as much as possible for the positions that you're applying for in supply chain, right? So you gotta, again, make sure you're customizing your resume as best as possible for the positions you're applying for. And the second thing I would suggest, Michael, is don't depend solely on applying online as well. You want to see if you can identify people that you can reach out to directly at the company you're interested in applying for, and introducing yourself and seeing if you can stand out that way, right, Michael? So again, if you want more specific advice, Michael, about the UK market, unfortunately, I'm not the right guy. I'm not that familiar with the UK market, but hopefully you can speak to maybe some of your colleagues in the space, or people who are working in supply chain in UK who can give you more specific advice. But that would be my advice to you, Michael. All the best, and thanks so much for tuning in. Hope that helps. So Anjali says, Dean, I recently had a chance to talk to a hiring manager. Conversation was very interesting. He clearly mentioned that job description is not exactly what he's looking for. Folks, this is exactly what I was talking about, right? Anjali, thanks so much for sharing this, right? And so this is coming from someone else, folks, right? Maybe some of you are thinking, yeah, Dean, you're just making this stuff up. No, folks, this is the reality of it, right? So Anjali is giving a perfect example here. Unfortunately, and I know this is so, but by the way, this is not just frustrating for you, folks. This is frustrating for me as well, because I hate to think that people are taking the time to customize their resumes. And there are some cases where, like Anjali is saying here, like it's not even the hiring manager saying the job description is not even like exactly what he's looking for. So this is where companies really need to step their game up. Like, folks, if you're a hiring manager, if you're a company watching this, what is the point of creating a job description that is not a real reflection of the role? Like, I don't get it. Stop doing that. Like, people are wasting their time customizing their resume for these positions, and you're not even using keywords that are key for the position when you're searching for them on the ATS. And so a whole bunch of people are just going to be sitting there in your ATS. How efficient is that? How effective is that? Hiring managers, companies, organizations, I'm asking you to step your game up right now. Put some effort into creating an effective job description. What's the point of putting a job description out there that doesn't even reflect the role? I don't get it. It's not going to help you in your hiring process. It's not going to help you in your recruitment process. You're going to be attracting candidates that are not even the right fit for the role. And you're making a whole bunch of people customize their resume for positions and it's not even like the right things they're customizing. Knock it off. Like, folks, seriously. Right? So Anjali, thanks so much for sharing that. And yeah, folks, I have unfortunately experienced this plenty of times as a recruiter when I have met with clients, with organizations, with hiring teams, and they're like, yeah, you know what, this is just a generic job description, and it's not even what we're really looking for, really, Dean. You know, XYZ, this is what we're really looking for. Now, obviously, when I'm at a client meeting, I can't do an outburst like I'm doing right now, right? I got to be professional. I got to be respectful, and I don't want to lose the client, right? But by being upfront like this. But in my head, I'm thinking, folks, like, what are you doing? What's the point of putting out a job description that doesn't even reflect the position? I don't get it. Like, why are you doing that? It makes zero sense to me. I don't get it. So anyway, look, I'm just ranting here at this point, but folks, this is the reality of the situation. And unfortunately, folks, and you know, here's the thing and I feel so sad having to say this, but there will be times, folks, when you are customizing your resume for these jobs, for these positions, and it's not even going to matter because of situations like this, just like Anjali shared, where the job description is not even what they're looking for, right? And I mean, it's messed up, right? But that being said, folks, I know this is irritating and frustrating and stuff like that, but I still want you customizing your resume, because you never know. There's no way for us to differentiate between positions where the job description is an accurate reflection of the role and those ones where it's not an accurate reflection. So I know it's frustrating. I know it's time consuming. I know it's pissing you off just as much as it's probably pissing me off right now. But I still want you customizing your resume, because I don't want you to be ruled out, because you never know. Again, at the application stage, there's no way to figure out which ones are accurate, which ones are not. So I want you at your end as a job seeker, I want you to keep pushing through, keep customizing your resume regardless, all right? I know it's frustrating, but I want you to keep doing it, because I don't want you to get ruled out in the case that you're applying for a position and that position does happen to have a great job description. By the way, not all companies do this, folks. You know, I got to give credit where credit's due. There's a lot of companies out there that have stepped their game up. They are taking the time to create excellent job descriptions that are an actual reflection of the position and the role. So a kudos and a shout out to all those companies out there that are putting those efforts in, right? I'm not saying all companies are being incompetent like this, but it does exist, right? So just keep that in mind, folks. All right. So yeah, Anjali. So I did share my comments on that. So Michael, no worries. Mustafa says the problem is sometimes things are not on the JD. They would still ask you if you experience exactly, right? I mean, this is the thing that really like fires me up, folks. Like honestly, and this is not helping you as an organization, folks, right? For those of you who are hiring teams, hiring managers, organizations, it's not going to help you because why? People applying to the role are not going to be the right skill set that you're looking for, right? And you're going to be asking about stuff that they don't even have. So maybe there's a miscommunication between yourself and your HR department or something like that. Set aside the time to meet with your HR team if you have an HR department, if you have an internal corporate recruiter, if you're working with agency partners, you need to have a conversation and really set the stage for, hey, this might be the job description, but this is not an accurate reflection of what we're looking for. This and this and this and this is exactly what we're looking for. This is what we want you to look for. This is what we want you to go out there and look for in the candidates that you send our way. Or you need to redo the job description, folks. All right. So if you're a company watching this, you're a hiring manager, you're an HR person, step it up, folks. You got to do this because you're not doing anything positive for your recruitment cycle or your recruitment process. You're going to be wasting time, wasting other people's time, right? These people who are taking the time to customize their resume, you're wasting their time and you're wasting your own time as well because you're going to be attracting candidates who aren't even a fit for what you're looking for. So great point here, Mustafa, right? This is exactly what's wrong. Well, so you got to mention what you really need on the job description, right? If you're a hiring manager or hiring team or an HR department that's watching this, all right? So thanks for sharing that, Mustafa, right? It's sad but true, folks. This is the reality of the situation, unfortunately, right? So Mustafa says, I rejected a job with a hospital. They put a range of salary, and when I received the offer, they offered me less than what was posted on the description, which I don't understand. Yeah, so here's the thing. Here's another annoying thing that happens, right? Why would you post one salary range on the job description, and then throughout the interview process you make it appear like everything's fine with the candidate? Yeah, we like you. You'll be perfect for the position. Blah blah blah, all that stuff, and then ultimately present them with a salary that's below the range, right? Or what was posted on the description. Why do that? Like what's the point? If you had an issue with paying Mustafa, for example, right? I'm using you as an example right now, Mustafa. But if you want to hire Mustafa and you had a problem with what Mustafa was asking in terms of his salary and his and what he's asking for, why are you bringing it up right at the end? Why not bring it up as early on as possible? You save yourself time, you save Mustafa time as well. Because now what you've done, you've invested time and resources into meeting with him maybe multiple times, maybe gathering various stakeholders from your hiring team and whatnot to meet with Mustafa and talk about how great it is, and oh yeah, this is what the project is, and yeah, he can do this, he can do that. If you had an issue with the salary that he was asking, bring it up front, folks. Bring it up within the first interview, right? And I see your next comment here, Mustafa, apparently was not in their budget. Yeah, exactly. So folks, look, if a candidate is not within your budget, within what you're looking for, bring it up as soon as possible. Why are you waiting until the very end? Right? You're just wasting your own time. You're wasting the candidate's time as well. And maybe if you bring it up front, and maybe if there's logical reason to it, maybe Mustafa would have been okay with it. Maybe he might have been a little flexible. Who knows? But the fact that you're bringing it up right at the end, that's just bad. That's just bad negotiation strategy right there. Like seriously. If you got a problem with what a candidate's asking for in terms of their salary and their expectations, their compensation, bring it up as upfront as much as possible. Now, and previously when I was in recruitment, this is like one of the first things I would do is I would always get the salary part out of the way upfront. I would let the candidates know when on the initial phone call, I let them know, hey, this is the salary range, this is what the client's offering. And then take the conversation from there, right? Because we can all go on and on about how money is not important and blah blah blah, all this stuff. Yeah, tell that to the landlord, right? Tell that to the bank when your mortgage is due. That money is not important. Try that. Look, you gotta sort out the financial stuff, folks. Like if you're a hiring team, if you're a hiring manager, if you got issues with what a candidate's asking, bring it up front. Have that conversation early on, so you can either figure out, okay, yeah, okay, fine, I'm not within your budget, but you know what, I still want to continue the interview process. I still like your company. I'm still open to having a discussion. You either that's going to happen, or it's going to be, hey, look, this is not going to work out. I have certain financial requirements that I have. and it's just not going to work out. It's just not going to make sense. All right. So either way, folks, look, transparency is extremely important, right? Especially for companies as well. So Mustafa Mustafa says, Dean, don't be pissed, brother. We need you. All right, Mustafa. I'm gonna calm down now. I'm gonna calm down. Anjali says, thanks, Dean. Hey, no worries, Anjali. So yeah, looks so that was a bit of a rant there, folks. But look, I'm here to present you with the realities of the situation in recruitment, in hiring, and in all these things. So hope today's session was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions, any other areas you want me to cover in my live stream. So I go live every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. So see you again next week, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. I do go live. I do post content here and there, folks. So you can definitely see me around on LinkedIn as well as the other platforms. And let me know in the comments if you found this session helpful. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, comment, so that this session is available to everyone else in your network who might find use of it. And I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Everybody take care. And hey, look, keep pushing through in your job search, folks. Keep pushing through in the job search and keep going for what you want. I see a question here from Mustafa, so I'm going to answer a question. By the way, anyone has any questions, feel free to put in the comments. I'm still okay with sticking around for a bit. Mustafa says, is it appropriate to ask the interviewer at the end of the interview, how did I do? Yeah, I don't see an issue with that, Mustafa, right? And in fact, I'm glad you're asking this question. I'm glad you're willing to ask that, actually. So good for you, Mustafa, because a lot of people, they don't want to ask these tough questions. I think it's a great question to ask at the end, Mustafa, right? And there's so many ways you can word this. You can say, hey, Dean, appreciate your time and letting me know more about this opportunity. At my end, I definitely feel like this is a great opportunity for me. I did want to ask you, Dean, hey, how do you think I did at today's interview? How did you think, did I answer the questions that you wanted to find out in as much detail as you wanted? I mean, there's so many different ways that you can ask, but absolutely, Mustafa, it's definitely a question you want to ask. You definitely want to ask that question because, and another reason why you want to ask this is simply, no one else is asking this, Mustafa, right? Most people shy away from asking tough questions like this. And yeah, Mustafa says, I did once and they call me ballsy. Yeah, exactly. Right. Because people are not used to them asking these upfront questions. And it is definitely a ballsy question and it puts them on the spot. And it actually forces them, not force, but it actually gets them to open up even more. Right. And now it does depend on how you ask. You got to ask it in a professional way, with a great attitude, with a smile on your face. You don't want to ask. I mean, how you ask is just as important as what you ask, right, folks? How you ask is just as important as what you ask. So, assuming Mustafa did this with a smile on his face and a positive attitude and respectfully and professionally, absolutely. I mean, it could potentially open up a great further conversation, and they might even highlight what they liked about you, what areas they were uncertain about, and stuff like that. So, it's definitely a great question to ask, Mustafa, right? So, definitely encourage everyone to ask. Those kind of tough questions at the end of the interview as well. Anthony says, thanks, Dean. Hey, no worries, Anthony. Hope you found value in the session. All right, folks. Looks like that's all the questions. Everybody have a fantastic day. Hey, keep pushing through in your job search. Don't give up. Do what you got to do to get in front of the right people, folks, right? Whether that's applying online, connecting with people on LinkedIn, direct messaging, all of these different avenues that you can use to position yourself as the top talent that you are, right? Do not underestimate the fact that you are someone deserving of a great opportunity. So keep pushing through in your job search. Just a matter of standing out, folks. You got to stand out from the noise. A lot of noise going on right now, right? So many people competing over fewer opportunities. So you got to figure out, hey, what can I do to position myself and stand out from the crowd? So use every avenue, every option available to you, folks, to get yourself in front of those opportunities, in front of the right people, in front of those teams you want to work for, so you can continue to do the amazing things all of you do in your profession and in your career, right? So again, thanks everyone for your time. Again, I go live every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. Feel free to tune in next week as well and follow my content. I'm always putting on content every day. And also for those of you with an interest in cybersecurity, again, make sure you tune in again tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. My guest is going to be Danny Pehar. And he's going to be teaching us, he's going to be telling us, educating us on how we can be more cyber secure, more cyber smart, and cyber aware so that we protect ourselves from cyber criminals. All right. So thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. I'm going to wrap this session up. Everyone have a fantastic day. All right. Take care.